Well, thanks for listening to the LCR Media Podcast, where we get to know the pros. I'm your host, LCR Naylor Taliaferro, and on today's quick IBG episode, I wanted to touch base on ways that I pre-qualify my clients. Now, a little backstory on this is not unlike a lot of you. I started solo, and I didn't have a whole lot of time. I mean, I did have a lot of time, but because I didn't have anything else going on, but if you are part-time starting off and you're still juggling like a full-time job, then, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of time. And then at some point, even if you're full-time into lawn care, you're going to get real busy finally, hopefully, right? That's the goal, where you have a full schedule of work to do, and then you don't have a whole lot of time. And in a lot of cases, not a whole lot of money either to just be spending on things that you might think are not necessary, and, or you just legitimately just can't afford, even if you do think it's necessary, and you just maybe have to wait to get to that point, save some money or whatever, build your business up a little bit more. But one of the things you want to do, obviously, is get people to contact you, right? You want to market your business. You want to get people to email you, call you, email and phone calls are probably the best, right? You don't want people texting you or necessarily messaging you on Facebook or other sites. I think the best thing, probably the most ideal thing for me anyway, is email and phone calls. Honestly, email is the best because then I can respond when I have a free moment. When my phone's ringing constantly, and I'm an owner operator, so I'm in the field all the time. So I'm working the equipment. So if I'm laying down some stripes and I'm, in mid stripe and my phone's ringing, my hands are occupied. That means I have to stop, shut everything off, and answer the phone. And the guy, if I'm not by myself and I have someone with me and they're trimming or blowing or something in the same vicinity, now that's in the background. I have to kind of go try and find a quieter spot to go. And it just, one, slows down the whole process of the service that we're trying to provide, the property that we're on. And two, it's just, it's not even really the most professional thing. People like, hi, I'm just calling about lawn care in the background or whatever. Like, most people are expecting to have like a nice, quiet, controlled environment, maybe, an answering service or something. Someone's going to answer the phone. Like they're expecting the office to pick up the phone, right? No one's ever really thinking about the owner operator out there just grinding it out with all these different things. They got them Bluetooth on their pickup truck while they're driving to the next property or something. They're talking. So, it is what it is, and it gets hectic when you get a lot of those phone calls. And again, that's why I say emails. Probably, I wish everyone emailed me instead of calling me, because then I can just pull up my email when I get back in the truck or lunch break or whatever, and I can just go through and follow up on everything instead of the most annoying thing is when people email me to call them. They email me and say, hey, if you can give me a call, and I would love to talk to you about getting a quote. It's like, why couldn't you just tell me, just tell me everything in the email. Like, why do I have to now call you? It's like double steps. But anyway, I get a lot of people are personal and, they kind of are personable and they kind of like that. They want to talk it out instead of typing it out, things like that. I get that. But anyway, regardless of what you do, your phone's going to ring. Hopefully, right? That's what you want. That if your phone's ringing, that means people are interested in your services, and hopefully you're going to keep increasing your business. So, what do you do when you get all those calls? Like I said, I just said all this stuff of why it's challenging for me to have to answer my phone, and I'd rather people email me all the time, but that's not always the case. I still get tons of phone calls. So what do you do? How do you handle that? I can't always answer every phone. And honestly, at one point I kind of stopped. I made it a point to stop answering my phones. And I know that's counterproductive to what a lot of folks say, right? A lot of folks say, you have to answer your phone. You should answer your phone all the time. I got the job because I answered the phone. And that's true. I get it, right? If someone's calling 3 different people, different companies, and only one of the 3 answer, it's kind of like the first person to answer the phone potentially gets a job. I mean, obviously, if they priced it way out the box and it's, whatever, like they could, it's still theirs. It's basically theirs to lose, their opportunity to lose. They could be unprofessional. They could be way overpriced or something. And they still not get the job, even though they were the only one that answered the phone. But if everybody is professional when they answer the phone and they all are having the same prices, it's basically then the first person to answer the phone. So I get all that, but there's a lot of variables involved in that. And to be honest, there's so many opportunities out there, and there's so many ways to win business and ways to lose business that I'm really not concerned of being the first one to answer the phone, because most of the time, no one's answering the phone, period, anyway. unfortunately, we're busy, this, anything, whatever. It's like the first one to call them back, is where we're at this point. But for me personally, also, I was getting so many calls as the owner operator. I had no employees for the first several years. I think 4 years, year 5, I hired someone. So the first 4 years, I'm grinding it out, trying to grow my business, trying to get all the work done, trying to, pick up my kids from school if necessary, and, juggling life and all that, just like everybody typically does to various levels. And, answering all these calls and even returning calls for people that are just tire kickers. Like, they're not even people that I want to do business with or for. Like, they weren't my ideal clients. They weren't aligned with my company culture and my moral standards and all this stuff. So, and they weren't in the area that I wanted to be. So it got really time consuming and annoying to have to constantly answer the phone and waste my time and energy dealing with those kind of people, or feeling obligated to return their call to tell them that, sorry, thanks for calling, but you're not the right fit, bye. Like, what a waste of time. So what might be an obvious solution is to hire someone else to do that, have an office person, or, there's virtual assistants out there, virtual receptionists out there now, that multiple companies out there that do a good job at that. And they just work for you and they answer your phones, that they're hooked up to the number or whatever, however that works out. And they answer your phones, and they even in most cases can utilize whatever CRM you have, for your customer relations. And, invoicing, estimating, job scheduling, all that kind of stuff. They can go in there and they can finagle that for you too. If there's a new customer or there's customer issue, whatever. So, they can really take a lot of that weight off of your shoulders. And this way people, are getting someone to answer the phone, and you are the first one to answer the phone, or maybe the only one to answer the phone if you have that service. And it doesn't have to rely on a voicemail and then you returning their call and all that stuff. But if you can't afford that, right, that's not free. That costs money. So if you can't afford that, like I did in the first several years, the free option for me to try and make some sense of the chaos of people constantly calling, and it wasn't so much that people were calling. It was just the fact that they were I'd say 90% of the people calling were not people that I wanted to do business with. They were out of the area. I got red flags from what they were saying and the way they were talking, and just didn't get good vibes, or they were asking for services that I don't offer, all this stuff. I could tell they were looking for someone cheap, they're just price shopping, and I don't want to be bothered with those people. I want people that want value over just cheap, the cheapest person, on the block or whatever. All that kind of stuff. So I was just wasting my time with the wrong people, spending my time on 90%, 90% of the wrong people. Like, that's just a waste. I'd rather be spending time with those 10% instead. So anyway, what I ended up doing was I discovered Google Voice. If none of you even know what that is, which I still find people that don't know what that is, and that's perfectly fine. You don't know what you don't know. There's plenty of things that I probably still don't know that are out there, whether they're new or they've been around forever, and I just never encountered it for one reason or another. But social media is good at helping sort through that and helping people get connected with the right things and discover things and share things and all that to help each other be better, personally, professionally. But early on, maybe year 2 or something, maybe 1 or 2, very early on, I stumbled upon Google Voice, someone outside of the industry, outside of social media that I connected with for various reasons. I think maybe they're a real estate agent or something, or, it's some sort of other business outside of the green industry space. But when I called them at one point, I guess we had like a meeting or something, and I called them to maybe confirm or ask a question or something. And they had a Google Voice number, and I just, whatever it was about it intrigued me. Like, I didn't know it was Google Voice or anything. I just knew that it was something unique than just just calling someone on a regular number or whatever, I guess. So I just knew there's something different. And so when I met with the person, I asked them about it, like, what's up with that? Like, what's up with this, answering service or whatever that you have. And they're like, oh, it's Google Voice. You don't know about that? And they told me all about it. And basically what it is, it's a free, or at least at this point right now at the recording of this podcast, it's a free service that Google offers. Again, just like any other free platform, there are paid for premium features, right? Services that you can pay for, but the basic level is free. And what it is you get your own custom, they give you you tell them the area code, and they have a list of numbers. Maybe you have like you know, maybe there's a number that might be easier to remember than others, you know, that you want to choose over the other ones, but they give you like a whole list of numbers typically for you to choose from, to pick to be your Google Voice number. And then you connect another number, or you have actually a certain amount of numbers, you know, I don't know what it is, maybe for the free version or whatever, but you know, you can connect more than one number, whether it's 2 or 3, you can connect more than one phone number, cell phone number or landline, maybe, if that even is still a thing in today's day and age, but you can connect more than one number to that Google Voice number. So this way you kind of have an answering service. Like say your spouse is helping you answer the phones. You don't have to have like an office phone, and they don't have to sit in the office to be able to answer the phone. It could just be their cell phone number and your cell phone number, and you can program it certain times of the day for their number to ring versus yours or whatever. So wherever they are, you know, they could be on the way to Walmart or something, you know, to the grocery store, or waiting to pick up the kids or something. And your business line rings. Your Google Voice number is your business line, and a customer's calling, you know, current or new one. And you know, your spouse's phone rings, and then now they answer, "Hi, thanks for calling such and such. You know, how can we help you today?" or whatever. And then they take care of it if you deemed that you're unavailable at that time frame or whatever, or vice versa. So that's a cool feature there. You can have multiple people help answer the phones different times, as well as you can leave voicemails. You can record different voicemails or a voicemail. I don't know what the limit is, but I've got multiple voicemails recorded. And this is what I'm getting to, the point of this podcast episode. But you can record voicemails for free. And I mean, that's all I really use it for, is that. I know there's other options, other features that you can do. If you go on the computer and go on the Google Voice website, on your account or profile or whatever, there's a whole bunch more things you can do. You can make international calls, all kinds of stuff. But I mean, for me, I just use it all on my phone. I've got Google Voice app and all that stuff connected to my phone. And, you know, when I make phone calls, I can make it through that Google Voice number so that it's a business number and people see the same business number. And just this way, if they have it in their phone or whatever, it comes through all the time. And you can text through it as well. They can do the same thing to you and call you and all that. So, I mean, it's really just a way of, two things. It's a way of, you know, one person has asked me recently, do you have 2 phones? Because they had 2 cell phones, one for the business and one for personal, just so they can like sort, you know, so they don't have it all on one phone and their phone just ringing all the time. You know, I mean, you can just program do not disturb on your phone and stuff like that. Like say you're home and you put on do not disturb, and then it does, but then you might miss like personal calls, you know, and now you can go and do not disturb except for select contacts, you know. So if it's an emergency and your mom's calling or something like that, you know, your spouse or whatever, you can do that. But that's a whole lot of extra programming now that you're doing if you just have 2 phones, right? Now it doesn't matter. You just shut the other phone off when work is done for the day, 5, 6 o'clock, whenever is quitting time, and you go home. You leave the phone in your car charging maybe or whatever. You turn it off, bring it home, turn it off, whatever. And you don't have to worry about being interrupted with your personal life now with business calls. If anyone calls, go straight to voicemail, whatever. If it's after hours, that's on them type deal. And you have your personal phone where you can still do whatever you want with that. So that's a common option, as well as people having like an office phone. So, you know, when they're not in the office, it doesn't matter, you know, if the phone's ringing because they're home. They're not in the office. So there's that option as well. But you can also just use Google Voice to have it all on one phone without having 2 separate phones. I thought about getting 2 phones. So when this guy told me about Google Voice, I was like, because at the time I was thinking about, should I get another phone so I can separate the 2 or what? And another thing is, which this may not apply to everyone, but I had a different area code. My personal phone had a different area code because I moved from a different state. I'm originally from New York State, and now I live in Virginia. So the area codes are different. But they're very similar. You know, this area code's 804, and the New York area code that I had was 845. So there's an 8 and a 4 in there, right? And people, ironically enough, would get confused. They would either not even dial the area code, and they would just assume that it was an 804 number, you know, a local number, because they just assume that's just the way it is. Everyone's local, right? Even though today's day and age, that is not true. I get so many calls from people looking for quotes that have all kinds of wacky area codes I've never heard of because they moved from California or, New Jersey or wherever. Some, who knows where. They moved from a different state and they're in Virginia now for one reason or another, maybe work relocation, military, whatever. Life changes. So tons of people do that, right? Different area codes. But as a business, that probably isn't the wisest thing to have a different area code because now people are just like, huh? Like, who is this? What is this business calling me? Like, it just kind of makes people a little weird and question things. And if you put that in your contact info and they have to dial that, one, they might be deterred by that because they see a different area code. Like, what kind of local business is this with a non-local number? Two, and which is what I found out happened. You can just assume that the other thing happened. People just might have been turned off by the non-local number and just didn't even bother calling. But more, what I think happened more, or at least I was able to prove and document or whatever, track, was people dialing the wrong number because they just assumed it was a local number. They didn't even notice that it was 845. They just thought, they saw an 8 and a 4 if they even glanced at the area code, and they just assumed it was the same area code and just dialed the number without even putting in the area code. And it just, I think that my number just rang. Like, it wasn't like the wrong person, or maybe it was, but they never answered. I don't know. But it wasn't like, there was some epic other person getting harassed. It would just always ring and it would never even go to voicemail or anything. So I would get a lot of people tell me that. And even like I'd try to get my car serviced and somebody would, I would call them back at the end of the day, like, hey, just checking and see if my car was ready or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, we tried to call you, like hours ago and it was done, but we couldn't get through. There's no voicemail or whatever. And in the beginning, I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm just like, how is that a thing? I didn't get a missed call. And then eventually I realized, I'm like, did you dial the area code? And they're like, oh no, I didn't even see that. I just assumed it was, 804, or, oh, I saw the 8 and the 4 and, I just, whatever. And so this is how I kind of discovered that these are all facts. One of many examples. So I had an 845 area code and I'm like, do I need to change my number and go through that whole headache? Or do I need to get another phone and deal with those other different headaches and have two phones or what? Those are like my only two options at the time. But then this gentleman told me about Google Voice and I was like, well, that's free for one and seems a heck of a lot easier than getting another number and telling everyone in your life that you changed your number, or getting another phone. That's an additional cost, obviously. And now you have two phones to juggle. That's just kind of a little tedious. Google Voice seemed like the easiest solution to that. I was like, wow, this is great. I can have the same phone, same number, but now I have a Google Voice number that's connected to this number, and I can advertise the Google Voice number with the 804 area code as my local number for business.
Hey, LCR listeners, this is Cody from Lightspeed Social Agency. If you're tired of spinning your wheels every selling season, we want to change things up for you in 2022. We're a full-service digital marketing agency that only works with lawn care and landscape businesses. We specialize in hyper-local, neighborhood-by-neighborhood Facebook ads that generate right away ROI. Go to lightspeedsocialagency.com to schedule a call. Make sure to tell us Naylor sent you and we'll give you $400 off your initial setup fee. That's lightspeedsocialagency.com.
Toro's brand new battery-powered Revolution Series products are changing the lawn care industry. With all-day runtime from the innovative HyperCell battery system, you can expect to power through your entire day, every day. Head to revolution.toro.com to see how Toro is transforming the game with the latest equipment innovations, or click the link tree in the episode description to get you there fast.
So that's what I ended up doing. So that's kind of like where the thought process came, that might not apply to you at all, but what will apply, or what should apply, is all of the added features that, and you don't even have to use Google Voice. You can, if you want to use your personal cell phone and all that, you can do that too, but it might be weird because if you're leaving a voicemail about thanks for contacting such and such, lawn care or landscaping, leave a message, but what if a friend calls you or something, that or someone that you just met or something, or, the school calls you about your kids or something, and maybe they think they have the wrong number, so that could become a new thing, a new problem there, because they think they're calling, Mr. Smith and it's blah, blah, blah's lawn care. If it's Smith's lawn care, then maybe they can put two and two together, but otherwise they might think that they got the wrong number. So, there's a whole different things there with all that. And ultimately, I just wanted to streamline it when I discovered this Google Voice, I thought it was great for so many reasons. Because like I said, I can now have a local number without getting a new phone or changing my number. And I can utilize, now it's like I have two numbers with one phone. Literally, I do have two numbers with one phone, and I can utilize that, right? I have a separate message for my personal cell phone. So if people call me for personal reasons that I know, there's a different message, right? It's a personal message. It's me talking about, me or whatever, thanks for leaving a message, call me back or whatever. People recognize my voice, whatever. Maybe I say my name. I don't even remember what the heck my personal message is. I don't really care. But what I do care about is my business number has a business message. So people know they're contacting my lawn care business. And the ultimate point of this episode leading up to this is how I screen my, my clients, or how I pre-qualify them. That was the word that I was looking for. How I pre-qualify my customers to be clients is really how I want to phrase it. How I pre-qualify my customers to be clients is through this voicemail. So because of all the calls, like I said before, and then I got Google Voice, but I still get tons of calls, and then it goes to voicemail. I ended up eventually stopping answering my phone, when I'm 100% busy. I mean, if I'm just sitting in the truck and my phone rings, I'm going to answer it, usually. But more times than not, I'm going to let it go to voicemail so that I can pre-qualify these customers to be potential future clients, people that I want to do work for week after week, month after month. And the voicemails have specific messages. So the most regular reoccurring voicemail that I have says, greets everyone for calling, blah, blah, blah. And we offer these services in these neighborhoods. And if you're interested in these services and you're in these neighborhoods, please leave a message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Very specific, very short and to the point, professional, and it's telling people what we do and where we do it. Please don't, waste our time basically leaving a message if you don't qualify for these things, if you don't pre-qualify. And that filters a lot of people out because my phone rings a lot and goes to voicemail, but I don't get as many voicemails after the fact. So that means people are listening, or they just didn't want to leave a voicemail. Either way, it's still worked out. The way I came to think about it over the years, I've been doing this for 8 years now. I haven't been doing this voicemail thing for 8 years, probably the first year 2 or 3 or something. I think I did this. So anyway, at least over 5 years now, I've been doing this with the voicemail and Google Voice and all that. It's been free this entire time. But I've said to myself and convinced myself that this is true, that if an ideal client that I want to do work for week after week, month after month, really wants to get a hold of me, they will leave a message. They will leave a voicemail. The same thing, it's the same principle, not to get off track here, but the same principle that I've talked about on my YouTube channel before at Lawn Care Rookie about all of my logos and, my truck wrap and my trailer wrap. I mean, my trailer has been wrapped forever. My truck just recently got wrapped because I got a new truck a couple years back. But I don't have the contact information all over the place. The truck I have the contact information on a little bit more because it's just a truck, it's a smaller area. But the trailer, smaller surface area, but the trailer's, 7x16. It's a nice, large, moving billboard. But on both sides, passenger side and driver's side of the trailer, I have my logo, massive logo on both sides. Only on the back, the ramp of the back of the trailer that I have the logo and my contact information, email and phone number and Facebook. Or I don't even think I have my email. I think I have phone number and Facebook because it's just faster and easier to remember. Facebook.com/blank. /CleanCutVA really is what it is. I mean, I don't need to keep that from anyone. It's not a secret, but so, it's my phone number and that, and then, my logo. So my philosophy is if they're driving by, they're not going to be able to memorize that anyway. If you have that on the side of your trailer, if you're parked, then obviously they can see all that if they're driving by, but then you got to stop, jot it down. My thing is, where are they going to have the most time to see that stuff? It's when they're behind you. They're behind you at a red light or a stop sign, or they're just driving on a street in the neighborhood or wherever behind you. You're right in front of them. They have more time to react. Hey, honey, can you type this in, or can you call that number, or can you write this down, or put it in your phone, or take a quick picture of it, or just memorize it. You're just looking at it for maybe a couple of minutes, while you're following behind the trailer, and you're like, all right, clean cut lawn care. Okay, I'm gonna look that up when I get home, or when I stop, or whatever, wherever you're going. So that's my philosophy with that. And the other thing is, because if I make it easy for everyone to contact me, then the tire kickers, the cheap people, will just, it'll be easier for them to call me. So that's just another kind of filter process for me. I feel like if someone's going to go through the slight effort of looking me up online because they saw me, drive by, or they drove by me, and they're like, oh, Clean Cut Lawn Care, let me check them out. They it looks like a professional setup. It looks like they're doing a good job, or whatever. Let me look them up. I need a lawn care service, or I need to change my lawn care service, or whatever. Those are the people that I want, because they take the time to look it up. They're not like, 845, blah, blah, and they see the phone number and they just call it real quick. Hey, how much do you charge? Like, what those are not the people that I want right off the gate. I'm like, sorry about your luck. Like, we're not a good fit right off the bat, right out the gate, right off the bat and right out the gate. That's what I combine there. Anywho, those aren't the people that I want. I want the people that want to look me up and look at my reviews, look at my pictures, the photos, all the work that we've done, and like, oh, wow, okay. So that's another thing, right? It's sending people to where I want them to go, sending people to, Facebook, websites, whatever, sending them to where you want them to go, so you're already now starting to sell them before you even got them on the phone or an email, because you directed them to where you want them to go by forcing them to look you up. And again, yes, some people aren't going to want to go through that effort. And in my opinion, those are the people that I don't want to do work for. That's just me. I get it. You want everybody and their mother, then you put it all over the place. And that's on you. But I'm just throwing things out there, what I do, in case it, makes you go, I didn't think about that. That might work. Let me give that a shot. Because I recently had this conversation with someone, and they were like, oh, wow, they asked me something about it. They said, you have two phones or something. And I said, no. And they were like, hey, all right. And I told them the whole thing, and they were like, that's a good idea. I'm going to look into that. So back to the Google Voice, again, just another way to pre-qualify. If they're going to leave a message, then most likely they're closer to the type of client that I want to do work for, versus just some random customer that's just calling, how much do you charge? Hey, can you just hack down my bushes real quick? Or, I've got a letter from the HOA, or I'm moving, I need to spruce this place up, I've ignored it for like 5 years. Can you come get me a quote, the cheapest price that you can possibly give me to make this place look like $1 million so I can sell it? Like, I don't want those people. I'm sorry. I've been there, done that. That ship sailed like after year 2 or whatever, when I realized how frustrating that is. And it's hard for me to grow a business that way. I need reoccurring revenue, reoccurring work, not, this random hodgepodge of stuff. Random people, again, they have their place. And especially when you're starting out, that's definitely, you can get a lot of work that way, but you need to start establishing some reoccurring revenue, get some clients where you're doing work for constantly, regularly. You can depend on them. You can start growing and scaling your business however much you need to achieve your goals. So, that's, you need to focus on those kind of things. And in my opinion, at least that's what I did. And it's been working out ever since. So, again, I pre-qualify folks with that voicemail. You still get people that fall through the cracks. Still get people that just don't listen to the voicemail. Maybe they were half distracted when the voicemail came on, right? Someone was talking to them or whatever the deal is, or they just don't listen. There's people like that, right? And they just like leave a message anyway, the complete opposite that you told them to. They're in a different neighborhood and they're looking for they're looking for gutter cleaning or something. And, I don't offer gutter cleaning, stuff like that. So, those people still fall through the cracks, but it's a much smaller percentage. And it is what it is. I deal with that on a case by case basis. And then I also have people that did hear the message, but they're so desperate to find someone because they can't find anyone else, because no one else will answer the phone or return their calls or has a voicemail or whatever. They're just desperate, for that call, desperate to find someone, that they still leave a message like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not in that neighborhood, but I'm close. That's a big thing. I'm close. I'm right down the road. I'm only like 15 minutes away from blank neighborhood, can you please still give me a quote? Or I don't know if you can, come that far or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, however they word it. So the same kind of basic concept. Sometimes like, I know you said you don't take care of this neighborhood, but you didn't list this neighborhood. Do you know anyone that can take care of it? Stuff like that. So there are still people that slip through the cracks, but it's very few and far between now. Like I said, most of the people that leave voicemails are people that are in those neighborhoods and they want the services that we offer. They follow the rules, and then I contact them and we go from there. And if they accept a quote or not, that's on them. But at least we have now pre-qualified and we're starting the process. They're kind of like a soft lead at this point or whatever, a warm lead. And it's more worth my time now to invest in that conversation. So that saved me a lot of time, stress, and headaches dealing with people, calling me just for all these random reasons and me wasting time dealing with that. Now I pre-qualify them with the voicemail. Simple, free, easy thing. I have multiple voicemails recorded so that for different things, like different marketing campaigns, like say there's been times where I wanted to add a new neighborhood. So, instead of listing those other neighborhoods, I would just say, the Midlothian area or something, so that it wouldn't deter people from the new neighborhoods. Like, oh, well, they just marketed in my neighborhood and they say they're not accepting any new clients in this and only in these other neighborhoods. What's that all about? Like, I don't want to confuse people or have false advertising. If I'm marketing a new neighborhood, I need to make sure that I'm not, taking them out of the equation by only saying other neighborhoods in the voicemail. So I've got a couple different voicemails depending on what I got going on that year, what I have going on that year, marketing wise and so on. And I'll switch them out, and even if like, say my schedule's packed out, I have a different voicemail for that, and it's easy for me to just go right into the app on my phone and just swap out, the voicemail. And if I need to record a new voicemail, I just record it right there on my phone and, I can listen to it and get it perfect the way I want it to sound. And then boom, it's done. It's saved in there. Label it whatever you want. So you know what it is and you can swap them out however often you want. So that's just a free, easy way for me where I have really filtered down all of this kind of craziness with the phone calls and pre-qualified my pre-qualified customers to be my clients. So it was a little bit longer winded, I guess, to get to that point, but I wanted to give some backstory and why I did all this. And if I just, if I just came on and said, I have a voicemail and it tells people what to do and, and it filters people out. That's what I do. That's a wrap, guys. Boom. That'd be like a 1-minute podcast. And there'd be so many questions I'm sure that you would have. And, we got to have more than a 1-minute podcast here, guys. I want to have a conversation with you guys. I want to be engaged with you guys and girls. And hopefully, you'll do the same with me. When I see you out on live events, we talk about stuff and podcasts and, you message me on Instagram at LCR Media and we have conversations as well. So thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Thanks as always to the Toro Company for sponsoring the LCR Media podcast. If you guys are new to the podcast, the LCR Media podcast, or you just haven't gotten around to it yet, please leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple. Or now Spotify is new. You can do that. So that's pretty awesome. So if you can do that, that would be a great help. It lets me know how we're doing, myself and Mr. Producer, so we can always get better and improve, as well as anyone that discovers the show. They'll see that too and be like, oh, this must be a good show. If they don't know anything about the show, me or the show, but they see all the ratings and reviews, they're like, oh, wow, this looks like a good show. I'm going to check it out. So it doesn't really help the algorithms in any way. It doesn't help our show get discovered. That's a myth that has been disproven. Probably a year or so ago. But it does help when people do find the show. Like I said, they can see all the great ratings and reviews and it might persuade them to click play and give it a shot. And hopefully they'll get some value from the podcast. So again, thank you guys for listening. I will catch you guys in the next episode. This is the Lawn Care Rookie signing off.
This has been an LCR Media and Mr. Producer production.